So how to fund a self-storage deal, especially if it's your first. And I think a lot of people get hung up on this where they think they have to have millions of dollars in order to buy their first facility. And I want to say that's false. But you do have to have some different components in order to buy your first facility. And so people look at funding, right? And so we're going to talk about banks, right? And we need to think like a banker, because what you can do with self-storage is there's multiple ways, right? You can actually find that money to buy that deal. So number one, you have SBA loans. So Small Business Association loans to buy a storage facility. And this is where the government helps you, right? They come in, they say, hey, you only need to put 10 to 15% down of that down payment versus a conventional loan where you have to put 35% down. So think about this. If you have $1 million facility, you're going to have to put $350,000 down. Or if you do an SBA loan, you will only need to put 10% down. So that's $100,000. And so you're able to distribute risk and actually get into a good storage deal by yourself with this SBA loan. And so I highly advise, I always say in the very first property, the reason why they have SBA loans is to go out there and use them, right? Use them to your advantage. And self-storage is a great asset class that they very much prop you up and want you to do that. And so this is a great way to get in. Now, will it take a couple more levers and a couple more, different increase in interest rate? Absolutely. But will it be worth it in the end? Hands down. And so this is something that you can do is $5 million and below, you can buy your first facility on an SBA loan. The second type of loan is conventional, credit union loan. And so this is a traditional bank that you're going to go to in a 5-mile radius, maybe from your storage facility. But what I always say is you want to go to the local credit unions first within a 10-mile radius. And the reason why is because businesses want to keep businesses within their network, right? And banks want to have their business because they know the storage facility down the way makes a lot of money and they know that that's going to be a good deal versus a bank that's like a state away, right? So make sure you go and check out your local credit unions because normally they'll have their best rates right now and they would like to do business with you as a small business owner. So seller financing is the third way. And so this is something where, say, a storage owner owns that facility outright, which a lot of mom and pops do right now. They've owned it for 10 to 12 years. What you can do is you can say, hey, Mr. Owner, if I give you $1.1 million, would you be open to being the bank? And so they get to actually make more money on top of that if you are seller financing. And so there's multiple ways that you can actually buy your first facility. And then the fourth way that I like to do is you can actually find the storage deal and you can operate it. And then you can go find a money partner and you get to skin off that equity. Like you get to have like 60% of the equity for 40% of the other partner that comes in and puts his money in. So now you have a storage deal with little to none of your own money into it, and you're going to only get better and more comfortable and confident to go buy another one. So these are multiple ways that you can actually think like a banker and find those type of funds in order to buy your first storage facility. So when I teach in self-storage school, like how to go out there and talk to storage owners and find good storage deals, we like to go off market, which is directly to a storage owner and say, hey, would you consider an offer on your facility? And so what you need to gather is the important pieces of information. There's 4 pieces that you need in order to understand what is that facility worth today. And then what is your offer? So number 1 is you need the unit mix, right? You need to understand what a unit mix is it's, hey, Mr. Owner, how many 10 by 10s do you own and at what price? So is it 10 by 10s at $100? And then you walk them through it. The second piece of information that you need is you need a P&L, right? So you need a P&L to understand how much did this facility actually gross in 2025. And if they're not open to giving you a P&L, which they might not, you can just ask them like, hey, how much did you make last year in 2025? And say, I always like to be like, if they are very close to their chest, I'd be like, oh, did you make 120,000? And they will correct you and let you know that important piece of information. The last part is what is their occupancy feel, right? So they can give you an occupancy report or they can say, hey, I'm about 95% occupied. And that's really going to help you understand what that facility is worth. Now, the fourth part to this is a P&L. This is a question I get all the time is in storage school, we teach how to actually read a P&L, how to understand what is working and what is not, and then also seeing like what are these crazy charges that these owners try to gouge and take away from their cash flow. So when I say most of the time these P&Ls are fabricated or fluffed up, it's true. Knowing you're buying a small business, nothing's going to be perfect. These P&Ls are going to have every gas station, every expense line, every restaurant. They're going to try to expense it within the business, showing a lower, right, net operating income. And that is something that you have to look at and decide really what is this facility worth, or, right, is it not worth anything? And this is an important piece to really understand so that you never overpay and that you can actually see the value. So these are the important pieces of surrounding yourself, being in a room, is that you get to learn this stuff so that you never overpay and that you find out what is the risk on the table so that you can actually make money in your first facility. So in one of our storage facility deals that we did in the very beginning, this was in 2022. And what happened actually was, as interest rates were rising really, really fast, we wanted to buy this facility. And so it was on an SBA loan. And what we had to do in order to get the deal done was that the storage owner wanted to close the deal within 90 days. And the SBA was like, we can't do that. And so we had to actually get on an SBA bridge loan. So a bridge loan is a fancy term for just literally a bridge for 1 year at a more expensive rate. And you're betting on buying that deal on a bridge loan, knowing or hoping that you're going to make it to your SBA loan, the product. And so it is a very risky business, especially in a commercial real estate, because if you buy that facility on the bridge loan, you own it, right? And now you got to figure out what you're going to do if that loan does not come or is not finished, finish the closed end of the product. And so we felt for 6 months, we were on this bridge loan until we were able to purchase the facility on our SBA. So there's just a lot of unknown every single day that is risk and more money that you're putting on the table in order to get the deal done. But I'm so glad that we did it. And sometimes the whole goal of this is sometimes you've got to take a little bit of risk in order to seek that reward. And that comes in many different flavors. So risk to reward, like if it was easy, it's true, everyone would buy and own a storage facility. But because you got to go the extra mile, that is one piece that sets you apart from being a true storage owner that's going to make millions in the future to someone who just wants to talk about it. And so I think when you think about being smart and taking on risks, yes, there are risks, they're calculated risks. And without the risks, everyone would do it, right? So thinking about what would your life look like in 5 years if you said yes to buying your first facility and then your second. And so that is the biggest takeaway, I think, is, what would your life look like? And then do you have the tenacity to go out there and buy your first facility and operate it and go do it again? And so making sure, in order to do that is finding the right people to surround yourself by. And that is why I started Self-Storage School, was people kept saying hey, how are you buying a seller financing deal? And how is that cash flowing? And how are you operating it at peak spot? And so that is how Storage School started, was being able to have these deal flows, partner with other people. And now they don't know what they don't know, but they have someone to help, right? To bring those questions to. And so if you're interested in not having to do your first facility alone, definitely send me the word school below. You can apply and we'll jump on a call and see if it's a good fit.